The Karma of Miracles, Decoding the Story, and Laws of Gangbu.
Welcome to today's analysis. Today, we are going to dive into an incredibly exciting and deeply inspiring ancient story, the miracle of Gangbu. This story serves as a crucial key. Through this precious text, we can unlock the profound mechanisms running behind the scenes of karma, destiny, and how spiritual cultivation actually works. It is going to help us answer that ultimate question everyone is so curious about: is our destiny truly set in stone? At the same time, it will show us how to intelligently avoid the pitfalls on this spiritual journey and head straight to the finish line. Let's take a quick look at today's blueprint. We will begin with the incredible miracle of feeding 1,000 monks with a single bowl of food. Then, we will tackle the big question of whether destiny is predetermined. Next, we will discuss how to cultivate the discrimination of truth Dharma Pravakaya to find true spiritual mentors. After that, we will look at the easily overlooked traps of blind and reckless practice. Finally, we will arrive at the main event: how to plant the seeds of Buddhahood through making vows. If you are ready, let us jump straight into Part E. Part E, the miracle of feeding 1,000 monks with a single bowl. Our story begins in the city of Rio with a man named Gangbu. He was no ordinary person, he was an immensely wealthy and great benefactor. Yet, despite having everything money could buy, he felt completely unsatisfied with shallow, surface-level doctrines. He kept thinking, is this really all there is? So, he spent his time observing and questioning various philosophical and religious sects, searching for the ultimate truth. Until one day, he finally met the Buddha. There, he witnessed an absolute, undeniable miracle. At the time, he offered what was merely a single bowl of food. But guess what? That single bowl of food miraculously fed all Ling monks in the assembly, and the food just kept flowing without running out. This mind-blowing miracle completely shattered Gangbu's ordinary perception of reality. Deeply shaken and moved, he immediately made a magnificent, profound vow on the spot. Because of this pure, heartfelt aspiration, the Buddha personally gave him a prophecy Vyakarana, predicting that he would definitely achieve Buddhahood in the future under the title of Gangbu Tathagata. It is truly a magical story, isn't it? And it brings us right into Part R of our discussion. Part R is destiny really set in stone? Look at Gangbu. Just because of that one encounter and that one single vow, the entire trajectory of his life was completely rewritten. This raises a massive philosophical question, which is also the core focus of the Q&A section in this text. If a single encounter can alter a person's ultimate destiny, is our fate pre-written the moment we are born? Or do we actually have the power to rewrite our own life scripts? I believe that this is the ultimate question that every spiritual practitioner, and honestly, every human being, has quietly asked themselves. The core realization here is this: destiny is only a fixed certainty if you choose to do absolutely nothing. Throw your hands up and let your past karma run the show. The master explains very clearly in the text that if you are willing to actively change and practice according to the Dharma, you can absolutely transform heavy karma into light karma, turning major crises into minor obstacles, and minor obstacles into nothing at all. Think of it this way: the major disaster that was originally destined to happen can be completely solved because you choose to perform acts of kindness and maintain a pure mind in the present moment. Positive karmic rewards that haven't matured yet might arrive early because of your diligence, while negative fruits are cut short before they can manifest. Therefore, remember this: Buddhism is absolutely not a pessimistic fatalism. Destiny is highly dynamic. It depends 100% on the actions and intentions you inject into the present moment. Part 3, Discrimination of Truth and Spiritual Mentors. Since destiny can be altered, how do we go about it? This brings us to Part 3, the vital importance of spiritual discernment. If we look back at Gangbu's journey, you will notice he wasn't the type of person to blindly follow the very first teacher he crossed paths with. On the contrary, he observed, examined, and analyzed thoroughly. The text mentions a practitioner who, simply because he created negative karma regarding the Dharma by misinterpreting it, misteaching it, and slandering the Sangha, paid a devastating price. He was reincarnated as a dog for Wu by consecutive lifetimes. This is a stark, heavy warning. The karmic consequences of creating negative causes around the sacred teachings and the spiritual community are terrifyingly profound. Sometimes out of ignorance or arrogance, People casually pass judgment on the Dharma. But please remember, when it comes to spiritual truths, we must never display the slightest carelessness, disrespect, or pride. The consequences are simply too heavy to bear. When describing blind practice, the text uses a powerful, almost darkly humorous contrast. If your mind is completely pure, even if you go to a remote mountain cave, that cave becomes the most sacred, pristine spiritual sanctuary for you. But if your mind is impure, filled with greed, anger, and ignorance, then you just mimic others by living in a cave. The master bluntly calls you out. How are you any different from a wild animal hiding in a hole? The point has never been where you practice. Your present state of mind is the sole deciding factor of whether you are truly practicing. The text also shares an absurd example of a highly arrogant student who completely rejected the guidance of spiritual mentors. He arrogantly claimed, "I don't like eating steamed buns that someone else has already chewed. I prefer to read the scriptures on my own." Can you believe it? He actually compared a teacher's compassionate, carefully distilled guidance to someone else's chewed leftovers. The master holds nothing back against this kind of ego, sternly warning that if you hold this self-righteous attitude and refuse to listen to qualified mentors, you won't achieve realization even if you practice for 8 million years. Arrogance is a massive wall that completely cuts you off from wisdom. To shatter this fatal pride, the master highlights a legendary figure from Buddhist scripture, Sudana Shantai Tongzi. Think about it, even someone as highly realized as Sudana still needed to humbly visit Wushisan different teachers to seek guidance on his path to enlightenment. If someone of Sudana's caliber did that, where do ordinary beings like us get the confidence to think we know best? This text is a sharp wake-up call. Believing you can achieve ultimate realization entirely on your own without any guidance is not just arrogance, it is a highly dangerous delusion. Part 2. Making vows, planting the seeds of Buddhahood. Once we bypass these traps, we finally arrive at today's climax and the most important section, making vows. In learning how to plant the seeds of Buddhahood within ourselves, looking back at Gangbu's ultimate success, it wasn't just because he was lucky enough to witness a miracle. The real turning point was the powerful action he took the moment he saw it. He made a monumental vow. The text explains that when a practitioner makes such a powerful vow and reaches the stage of a non-retrogressive bodhisattva, the most precise karmic operating system in the universe officially locks in. From that moment on, their timeline toward enlightenment is no longer an unknown variable, it becomes a mathematical certainty. Why could the Buddha prophesy so accurately that Gangbu would become Gangbu Tathagata? It is because that irreversible karmic trajectory had been firmly established through his profoundly sincere vow. In the Master SQA, we learn a deeply practical yet powerful concept. Making a vow is exactly equivalent to planting a real karmic seed in the deepest recesses of your consciousness. It does not matter how low your starting point is right now, how limited you think your abilities are, or if your mind is currently cluttered with defilements. As long as you are willing to give rise to a pure aspiration and set a positive intention, you are securing a future harvest. Think about it, if you don't even plant the seed, how can there be any fruit to harvest? Without a vow pulling you forward, spiritual practice becomes aimless, like a headless fly losing its direction, and everything else falls apart. The master concludes with a piece of highly practical and empowering advice. How wonderful it is if you make this vow every day and plant the seed every single day. Indeed, making a daily vow for wisdom, for compassion, and for the perfection of the 6 paramitas is absolutely the most grounded, foolproof method to reshape your destiny. When making pure vows becomes an indispensable daily habit, just like brushing your teeth or washing your face, you are quietly accumulating inconceivable positive causes. Never underestimate these seemingly small intentions. Over time, they compound and expand, eventually turning into a massive, unstoppable force that completely transforms your life. Final reflection. As we come to the end of today's analysis, I want to leave you with this deeply evocative question. Now that you know you possess the superpower to transform a fixed destiny into a dynamic reality, what kind of seed do you want to plant for yourself at this very moment? If your ultimate destiny depends entirely on the seed you plant today, what vow are you going to make for your future right now?